In this video, I'm fully modifying the LEGO Star Wars 2025 U-Wing Starfighter, giving it sliding doors, a much bigger interior space, and fixing many other inaccuracies. All of this on a step-by-step basis so that you can conduct these modifications on your own U-Wing. So this is the 2025 LEGO U-Wing Starfighter, and it's got lots of fun features like these wings that fold back, and these spring-loaded shooters that are hidden into the design. You can also open the cockpit and the cargo hold to fit minifigures inside. But there are still a few flaws in this set, like the door of the cargo hold that folds down instead of sliding back. And you can fit a maximum of 2 minifigures inside, even though it's supposed to be a troop transport and all. And the windshield of the cockpit also can't close if you're sitting someone inside. He has to lay down, and it does look a little bit awkward. So we're gonna have to change all of this today. And the first little inaccuracy we can easily modify is this blue line on the reactor of the U-Wing. And as you can see, in universe the line is a little bit closer to the front of the reactor. But we can easily change this by taking off the front part. And instead of putting the blue line behind both layers of bricks, we can put it in between them. And we can do the same thing for all of our other reactors, and this already looks so much better. But this is still nothing compared to the sliding doors and interior we're gonna build for this thing. So stay till the end if you want to see that. But before we can start it, we have to increase the footprint of the U-Wing. For now, this is 2 studs wide, so you can only fit 2 minifigures inside, and even so, it's super cramped. But I want to be able to fit 4 minifigures loosely, so we're gonna need a plate that's 6 studs wide. I don't seem to have... So this plate is 6 studs wide, and as you can see, it's not that much bigger than the whole footprint, but the interior here is just 2 studs wide instead of 4, whereas here, it stays 6 studs wide along the whole thing. They made it smaller here in the middle because of these ball joints that make the door slide down. But since the door is going to go back anyways, we don't need them. So we can start by completely detaching the hull of the ship, and we can take everything off it that we don't need, like the ball joints and the 2x10 plate that we're replacing with the 6x10 plate. The only problem is that the walls of the build are actually not as wide as the actual base, so we need to turn everything that's 4 studs wide into 6 studs wide. This back part, I just added a couple 1x3s here with some grilled pieces on top, and as you can see, it's 6 studs wide. And these panels right here are exactly the same as on the original. So the back is already the right size, but we still have to work on the front. And we can do the same thing, just make everything 6 studs wide. And this is why this modification is so easy. All the extra parts you really need are just 6 stud wide plates and bricks. And what I did to achieve this nice angle right here is just moving these brackets 1 stud to the side. We can add this 1x6 plate right here, and this panel is the original one from the set. I just added a couple of these 3x3 wedge plates, with this white one in the middle to represent the fog lights. Then we can add this inverted slope right here that's not included in the set. And when we add our side panel, this whole thing just looks really nice. The whole thing looks even better than the original model, and it has space for more minifigures. Which means it's time to start the interior space design. First, we can take off this little control panel, because this area will be solely dedicated to the troopers. However, don't just throw this control panel in a bin, because we'll be using it later. But let's concentrate on the hull of the ship, because I want to fit 4 minifigures in here. And they'll be seated on this brown modified plate, because it makes it easy to place and remove a minifigure. Now the set only comes with 3 of these, so you're gonna have to get an extra one, but it's okay because it's a pretty common piece. And our soldiers look so nice in there, it's just such an improvement from the official set. But they do need something to lean on, so I built this little design using 1x5 plates and some inverted tiles. But if you don't have the pieces, it looks just fine without it. But now that this is done, we can start working on the cockpit area. Because if you remember, our old U-Wing pilot needed to lay down for us to close the cockpit canopy. But we want him to sit down. So we can start with a 4x6 black plate, and then we can add 2 of these white 1x12s. And we can add this right on the top of the build like so. Then we can add this 2x6 just right on top of here. Then we can add an inverted tile on the underside to help for stability, and the same thing on the other side with a couple of 1x2 plates underneath. Now when we place a minifigure on here, there's no way he's gonna fall through. Then we can add a 1x4 right here, and we can add these 2 parts of the U-Wing on top. Then we can take our control panel from earlier and this other one that's in lots of different LEGO Star Wars sets. We can add a 1x2 underneath, And we can place it right here in front of the big control panel. And with these extra control panels, the piloting of the U-wing looks a lot cooler. And no, our pilot can't sit completely straight, but it's still way better than what we had before. But now, the whole base area is finally complete, and it's just as sturdy as the original set, which means we can start working on our wings and engines. But first, what do you think of my new YouTube studio with the blue background paper? And I know it's quite messy for right now, but I think the blue is just so great for my videos. So subscribe if you like it as well. But let's get back to this. As you can see, because we made the hull of the ship wider, the engine footprint is not wide enough to fit on top of it. But we can easily fix this by first taking off these 4 2x4 plates and these 2 on the top, so that we can easily remove the wings that we'll be modifying in just a sec. But we also have to take off the reactors. You'll see why later. Because now it's time to modify the wings by just making them 1 stud wider. And we can do this by replacing these 1 stud wide plates with these 2 stud wide plates. So they should be sticking out like this. Then we can scoot everything to the side and add a layer of plates right in the middle. And the color is irrelevant because we won't be seeing these pieces from the outside. Then we can add all the plates on top again, and this is what we end up with. So we can quickly do the second one, and our wings are already looking way better. But you do have to be careful that this ball joint is like it is right here and that it's not sticking out. And if you don't do this right, this feature will not be functional. Now the last thing we have to do is take these 2 hinges that are separated by a plate and connect them both together. Then we can add them to the wing and use the same plate to connect them underneath. And with that, we finally finished our wings. So we can connect them to this base area, but we still have to change a couple things on it. First, we have to take off this little part and replace it with a 1x12 piece. Then we can take these 2 2x3 plates and attach them to the sides, and then we can add the whole thing to our base. Once that's done, we can attach the hinge from our wing to this little white piece sticking out on the side. Then we can add this piece from the engines back on, and finally we can add this tile that we took off before. Now with that done, our wing is attached, and it's the exact same process on the other side. And with both wings attached, this looks really cool. However, their functionality still doesn't work. So we need to take off this part. And we can remove these ball joint attachments and add them back onto the base, but with 1 plate on top so that they're just a little bit lower. Then you can add a 2x10 plate in the middle and add just a couple extra plates to make it a bit sturdier. And with that, our whole wing mechanism works perfectly, which means we can finally attach this whole thing to the hull of the ship. And you do have to press down really well or it won't be well attached. And with that, our U-wing has fully functional wings, and it just looks so good with that extra stud on each side. But now that all this is done, it's time to do what you've all been waiting for, the sliding doors. Now for the actual doors, we're just going to use the ones that were included in the set because I really like how they turned out. Especially the window that was built using these clear pieces. So the first thing we're actually going to change is we're going to take this 2x8 plate off. Then we can take the ball joints off because the doors are sliding anyway. And then we're going to take this 2x8 plate and add a couple grilled pieces on each side. Then we'll put a 1x2 plate in the middle, add a 1x2 tile on top of there, and then we'll add one of these cheese slopes on both sides. And before we can attach this, we actually have to take this 1x4 plate and put it right here. And like this, we can attach this part and our door looks super nice. But now for the sliding mechanism, we have to take these 2x2s off. And you can replace them with any 1x2s, like these rounded ones that are included in the set. Now for the whole mechanism, it's pretty simple. You're going to need 2 of these Technic pieces that are connected with this little Technic axle. Then we can add a pin, and then we can connect this to this Technic piece with 4 studs on the back. And we're going to attach it right here, in between 2 studs. Except that actually isn't possible unless we use these super cool jumper plates. We can put 2 of these jumper plates right here. And we can attach our little mechanism right here on this side. And we can use this 5-hole Technic lift arm. And we can add some of these small pins with a stud on top. And a normal pin facing down. And they must be connected in this exact way or the doors won't work. But then we can add a 1x3 plate right here, and these 2 1x2 plates sticking out to the side. Then we can add a 1x3 jumper plate on top, and a 1x2 jumper plate right next to it. Then we can attach this right here, and the mechanism is basically complete. And we can also add a couple extra plates here to make it a bit sturdier. And with that, our sliding door is finally complete. But before we can add it to our build, we need to take off these 1x1 clips and replace them with classic 1x1 bricks. Then we can add a 1x6 plate right here, and we can attach our door right on top of it. Finally, we can quickly copy and paste that on the other side, and there we have our fully functional sliding doors. And the whole thing is super sturdy. You can literally hold it by the doors and swoosh it around. There's no way the thing is gonna come off. But let's not celebrate too soon, because we still have to modify the engine attachment. As you can see like this, the doors can't go behind the engines because they're too close to the ship. So what we gotta do to change this is work on this section right here. And we can start by removing these little Technic connectors. Then we can attach a 1x3 plate underneath a 1x4 plate and attach them right here. And with this extra stud, we can put the Technic connectors right back on. But we're not done yet, because this is still really fragile. So we have to attach the inverted Technic connectors on the underside. Then we can add a 1x1 stud right here, a 1x3 plate right under it, and a couple more 1x2s under that. And with all of this in place, this whole thing is really sturdy, which means we finally finished our connection. But right now, if we add the engines and we fold the wings back, the wing pushes down on the bottom reactor and puts pressure on it. So to fix this, we can take it off and remove this piece with the bracket. Then we can remove the bottom one and take this different bracket with the studs going up and attach it right on top. Then we can take our Technic brick back and remove the bracket that's on top of it. Then we can add it to our two other brackets and finally attach the whole thing to our reactor. And like this, when we fold the wings back, they go right between the reactors like they're supposed to. Finally, we can do the same thing on the other side, and we've completed all of our modifications. And with a few finishing touches, we went from this small, old, inaccurate U-wing to this brand new, super cool U-wing with every negative aspect upgraded. And all of these modifications are completely free for you to conduct on your own U-wing. All you gotta do is rewatch this video, pause a couple times, like, and subscribe.